Hey movie lovers, this is Does It Hold Up? I'm Adam, and every single week we go over the top 10 movies at this past weekend's box office. We take a look at a comparison chart to 23 to 24, and a couple other things. Some very interesting things. Last week I changed up the show a little bit, got rid of a few charts, added a new section where we dive deep into something about the box office. This week, we're going to dive into some Disney stuff, but we'll get there at the end of the show. As always, we start with the top 10 at this past weekend's box office, and it was a very, very good box office, led by a Disney movie. In first place was Moana 2 with $139.7 million, but its grand total so far is $225.4 million. And the reason why is if you take a look down at the corner there, this movie opened up on Wednesday, trying to get ahead of Thanksgiving Day. It's a very big weekend here domestically, Thanksgiving weekend for movie going, so Moana 2 wanted to jump on that, and it definitely paid off. In second place in its second weekend is Wicked with $81.1 million, a total of 263. That held pretty well. It opened up to 115, only dropped to 81 million, pretty good. Gladiator 2 is in third in its second week with another 31 million. It's up to 111 million overall. Again, a strong hold, but that's because it's a really good weekend just for movie going. Fourth place, Red 1 in its third week with another $12 million, but the movie's only made $76 million so far. If you remember the show last week, we talked about how The Rock is a complete disappointment when it comes to box office numbers. He doesn't really get butts in seats unless he's part of an ensemble, a big picture movie. Red 1 unfortunately just isn't that. And after they spent $250 million to make this movie, 75 is not what they were hoping for. In fifth place is the best Christmas pageant ever, in Judy Greer. Go see this movie, it's Judy Greer. It's in its fourth week with another 3.2 million. It's made about 32 million overall. In sixth place is Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin in its second week with another 2.3 million. It's reaching about that $10 million mark. Seventh place is Venom, The Last Dance in its sixth week. This was a movie nobody said was going to do anything. It opened up terribly low compared to the other two movies and low compared to expectations, but it seems to be hanging around pretty well. Is it going to get there? Well, obviously not. The last two movies each made around 214 million. This one's only at 137.8 million after bringing in just 2.2 million this weekend. In eighth place is Heretic in its fourth week with just under $1 million, bringing its grand total to 26.8. That's probably the last it's going to be in this top 10. In ninth place is The Wild Robot in its 10th week. I did not see this coming. I saw the movie. I didn't really care for it all that much, so I'm not sure how in 10 weeks it's still in the top 10, but here it is. But it only made $700,000, bringing its grand total to $142.5 million. And in 10th place in its 5th week is A Real Pain with $655,000. I said that movies perform pretty well over Thanksgiving weekend, and they do. I mean, the last couple of movies on this list in the top 10 didn't even reach $1 million, but that's because everything was front-loaded. Those top 3-4 movies was what everybody was going to see. But was it enough to put 2024 over 2023? Well, that's the next thing we're going to look at. Weekend-to-weekend comparison. Well, let's find out. It's the 48th weekend of 2024. Last year, $97.2 million was made on the 48th weekend, led by Renaissance, the Beyonce movie thing, whatever it was. It did not open very well, led the way to all movies only making that $97.2 million. And you can see this is a big jump above last year because Moana 2, Wicked, and Gladiator 2, all three of them led the way to $276.7 million at the box office over the Thanksgiving weekend. That is one of the highest Thanksgiving weekends of all time and a clear domination of 2023. And real quick, just to touch upon this, last year, all 52 weekend totals. We're not talking about the entire calendar year, just the 3-day weekends for all movies. last year in 2023 was just over $6 billion. The way 2024 started, there was no chance in hell we were going to get close to that. Like, it was going to be a massacre. 2024 was going to look like garbage. But with some pretty big movies in here, like Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, Wicked, and now Moana 2, maybe there's a chance. Right now, through 48 weekends, 2024 is at 5.2, little under 5.3 billion. It's about $800 million off right now, and there's still 4 weekends to go. Do I think there's going to be $200 million every single weekend? No, but we still have Sonic 2 opening up. We still have Kraven the Hunter opening up. Might get some big weekends, so it's going to be rather close. Let's look at the top 10 movies for all of 2024. Inside Out is still in first, followed by Deadpool 3, Despicable Me in third, Beetlejuice 2 in fourth, Dune Part 2 in fifth, and Twisters in sixth. And then we get some changes to this chart. Wicked comes in its second weekend with $263 million into 7th place, and Moana, after just 5 days of release, jumps into the 8th spot here with that $225.4 million, which pushes Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire and Kung Fu Panda 4 down 2 spots each to 9th and 10th, meaning 2 movies fell off this list. Bad Boys, Ride or Die, you had an extremely good run. That is nothing to be disappointed about. And Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Okay, so last week I broke down Dwayne Johnson's box office appeal. People gave me some good feedback. They said they liked the new formula for the show and digging deeper into certain things when it comes to theatrical releases and box office. And this week, because of Moana 2, I wanted to dig into Disney movies, animated Disney movies. But not just any animated movies, it had to be sequels. So I went through and I found what I think is the only 15 animated sequels Disney has ever theatrically released. And I broke them all down to see, does Disney do well with sequels? Because we've heard our entire lives, anybody who's my age or right around my age, that Disney sequels are never as good as the originals. And does the box office reflect that? Are people interested in these sequels? Well, let's find out if they made any money, and if Disney should continue to make sequels or go back to giving us original IP the way they used to. There were 15 movies, so each one of these charts breaks down 5 movies each. On this first chart, we're going all the way back to 1990 for The Rescuers Down Under, which was the very first Disney animated sequel of any kind, which is really impressive. Total budget for this movie was $64.6 million. When I say total budget, that means I'm taking the production budget, what it cost to actually make the movie, and I'm including what is the estimated marketing budget. How much money did they spend to market the movie? You combine those two numbers together and you get the total budget. So the total budget for The Rescuers Down Under was $64.6 million. But after you take that number away from the net number that the studio got, you can see that the net profit for The Rescuers Down Under was actually a negative $42.4 million. This movie lost the studio almost $43 million. So it wasn't profitable. And sadly, guys, I guess not sadly, sad for this movie, because let me know in the comments below. I believe this sequel is better than just The Rescuers. The Rescuers Down Under, and maybe it's because I saw Down Under first, but I think it's better than the original. Let me know in the comments. Next movie we're going to talk about here is Fantasia 2000, which is obviously a sequel to Fantasia. Total budget for this movie was $136 million, but after you do all the mathematics, it's a $107.7 million loss for the studio. So right out the gate here, they have 2 huge losses on these movies. Maybe sequels aren't their forte. Looking at the next couple of movies, we have Return to Neverland, which had a net profit of $17.4 million all the way back in 2002, a sequel to Peter Pan. And then, apparently, they made a sequel to The Jungle Book in 2003, and they titled it, very aptly, The Jungle Book 2. Go figure. This one had a net profit of a positive $31.4 million. And here's where we get into Toy Story 3. And very quickly, I know you're going to say, well, what about Toy Story 2? Well, Toy Story 2 came out in 1999, and Disney didn't acquire Pixar, until 2006. Therefore, Toy Story 2, I don't count as an actual Disney sequel. Toy Story 3 is even stretching it because it's still a Pixar property, but because they're under the umbrella of Disney, I threw it in here. But Toy Story 3 from 2010, look at that total budget. That's insane. $340 million to make this movie, but it didn't really matter because it made over $1 billion worldwide and had a net profit for Disney of $160 million. So out of that first 5, you had 3 profitable movies and only 2 not profitable. Next set of 5 movies here, we have Cars 2 from 2011. Let's run through this real quick. It had negative $77.9 million net loss for the studio. Monsters University from 2013 was a success, making the studio $50.3 million. Planes, Fire and Rescue from 2014. I did not realize this movie got a sequel. I don't think Planes was good enough to get a sequel, and I didn't know people went and watched that movie enough to get a sequel. So this was a big surprise going through this. Maybe they shouldn't have made it though, because it did lose them around $12 million. Finding Dory in 2016 made the studio $140 million in profit. And then Cars 3 in 2017. Finding Dory made them a lot of money, but then they turned around and lost it the next year on Cars 3 because that movie has an estimated net loss of $118 million. So you can see here it's a nice little pattern. Not profitable, profitable, not profitable, profitable, not profitable. Not a very good 5 movie stretch for them. Final 5 we're going to take a look at. Ralph Breaks the Internet from 2018, lost the studio $50 million, so not profitable. But they get on a nice run here. Incredibles 2 from 2018, Toy Story 4 from 2019, Frozen 2 from 2019, and Inside Out 2 from 2024. All profitable for the studio. And you can see all of these movies had extremely high profits for Disney as well. $240, $160, $420, and $450 million respectively. That's insane. That is so much money for the studio in just 4 movies. But what about all these movies overall? Well, we talked about 15 Disney animated sequels. 9 of them were profitable for the studio. 6 of them were not. And the total profit for the Walt Disney Company on these 15 movies was $1.2 billion. In fact, it's actually closer to $1.3 billion. So all those rumors about how Disney doesn't know how to make animated sequels, well, they do, if they're going to release them theatrically. If we went into the quality of the ones that were straight to DVD, straight to VHS, well, then we could have a very long discussion on if sequels are just as good. But considering their last 4 have made them quite a bit of money, and Moana 2 is on track to do the same exact thing, I have a feeling we are in store for a ton more Disney sequels. Which brings the question, what classic animated Disney movie would you like to see a theatrically released sequel to? Let me know in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Disney sequels. I'll be back again later this week with some Oscar redux, so subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff so you never miss a video from us. And until next time, remember to be good to yourself, kind to others, and keep watching movies.